we here are going to discuss about the data, the various aspects of the looking towards the data, and we are going to see how the data has been categorized with the different means. So we are going to discover what are the types of the data, what are the different approaches to the analysis of the data, as well as what are the different summarization techniques used for the data. This graph is a very clear indication of what we want to or what we are really doing today. Today, when we talk about countries like India or the professionals like us, then we say that we are the knowledge workers, and the countries like India are the knowledge-driven countries. But if you see what is driving them and what is driving the knowledge, then the data is the basis or the fundamental block of this knowledge. So we can say that in this graph, that knowledge is getting converted to the information, and that information is getting converted to the knowledge, and finally the knowledge has been converted to the wisdom. But if you miss about thinking about the data, that is a fundamental block, that means you will be missing about the wisdom associated with it. So if we have to think technically what is the data, then data is in any set of the characters that has been gathered and translated for the some purposes. It can be any character, it can include the text, it can include numbers, or even the pictures and the sounds as well as the videos. So data is nothing but a simple words. It could be just an information. This chart provides the classification of the data. So if you say data can be classified broadly as a structured, semi-structured and unstructured data. For the structured data, we can say if it has been arranged in any kind of the rows and columns format, then it could become a structured data. What we call it as a database. And the typical example could be any of the CRM or the ERP system that we use. A semi-structured structure data could be a text-based document. It could be a text-based file. And an example could be a word process file, or it could be a text file, or even an email could be a form of a semi-structured data. If you talk about unstructured data, then unstructured data is a format of a data such as the videos, audio, pictures, MRI scan. This is more into unstructured data. But interesting fact about today's data is that most of the information that today we have seen, out of it 80% lies into the unstructured data. That means that is being used, consumed as well as available to us, but it has been unstructuredly organized. The other way of the perspective, the one more classification says that data is consist of the variables. Now, when we classify data about its variable, then we can say that it could be a numerical data or it could be a categorical data. When we talk about numerical data, it could be a continuous or it could be a discrete. So continuous data could be defined as the data that has been arised or that we can measure, and that is a continuous. So example could be a weight, height. Discrete data will take a whole number, that is a 1, 2, any of the whole number, and it only helps us for the counting the things. So it could be a number of the apples, number of the articles, number of the computers, number of the employees, could be a form of the discrete data. Let's move to the categorical data. So first type is the dictonymous or binary data. That is, it will only take the two values, yes, no, 0, 1, true, false. Nominal data, that will be only having we are just given a name for the sake of understanding it. So it could be a group of the people, it could be a group of the women, group of the men. Ordinal data will help us to order the things. it will define the hierarchy. So we can say that high, low, medium, satisfied, not satisfied, neutral. This could be on a scale, it could be said that it is a ordinal data, wherein we can write them into some sequence. Discussing about the analysis, we have to first discuss about the approach for the data analysis. So whenever we are having a data set in our hand and we want to analyze that data, then we have to go through certain process to analyze that data. So this particular blocks explains us the data analysis process. So it will start with identifying the data variable types. That is nothing but whether they belong to what category. Then we have to see how these different categories of the data could be brought down into structured, unstructured, or what is a unstructured format, and then we summarize them depending upon what is a type of the data. We run through any of the analysis with the central tendency, mean, mode, or median. We analyze the spread of the data depending upon the central tendencies, and then we see the skewness of the data. This exercise of analyzing data will really helpful for deriving any of the conclusions, deriving whether whatever analysis we are doing is correct or not. That will depend upon the skewness. In summarizing the data, there are also various techniques those are being used. These are the common techniques that we have mentioned here. So it could be a frequency distribution, it could be a group frequency distribution, it could also be a cumulative frequency distribution, or it may be a stem leaf diagram or a line plots. Here the graph shows that it's a frequency distribution for the failure of a particular item. So here it says about this item has been failed for this many times, and here in this particular frequency plot or the frequency distribution diagram, we see that these are nothing but a number of the failures that it has happened with the equipment. So in a single graph with a frequency distribution, we understand that what is the spread or how the things have been there, and we can see immediately the central tendency like a mode will help us to understand or give the insight about the data. Group frequency distribution, here instead of an individual element on the x-axis, we can see that that is a group that has been defined. It may be a salary of the people who are from the 0 to 75,000, or it is from the 9,50,000 to 9,75,000. So we are here, we are having the group, and the group, what is the people or how many people of the group belong to this particular band. So this is a salary band, and this is nothing but the number of the people who belong to this particular salary band. So this is just how we can summarize the data. It may be into a lot of the rows and columns, but if you see in terms of, I would say, the group frequency distribution in a single graph, we can visualize the data. Cumulative frequency distribution. So cumulative frequency distribution are obtained by accumulating the frequencies to give the total number of the observation. So to accumulate the frequency, what we really do, then we are really adding the previous number to the current number, and we define one cumulative frequency chart. And if you plot this, then we get a line on an XY plot.